Hi YouTube, I am going to add some weight to the argument of we are in a simulation. Did you know the Bank of America said there is a 50% chance we are in a simulation? A weird story about a series in the UK called EastEnders is said to be running a story of a character in the show called DNBO will see EastEnders on TV, which is a very strange storyline in my opinion. He will, like myself, start to question if this is actually real or a simulation. Computers have amazing power today to run simulations, but imagine a future version of us, 200 years ahead, would have amazing computational power. Computers now process huge amounts of data, and some of the most intense and productive tasks involve simulations. Simulations consider multiple variables and use artificial intelligence to analyze them and examine outcomes. Some simulations are games. Some are models of real-life situations, such as the spread of disease. Some are history simulators, which can be games, like Sid Meier's Civilization, or can mimic the real-life growth of society over time. That's how simulations run now, but computers keep getting faster. Processing power has doubled periodically for decades, and computers 50 years from now may well be millions of times more powerful than any today. Better computers would bring much bigger and better computer simulators, including history simulators. If computers get powerful enough, they would create history simulations so real that the self-aware beings within them would have no idea they were part of a program. Think that's too far out there? Harvard's Odyssey supercomputer can simulate 14 billion years in only a few months. In some ways, the post-humans running a simulation are like gods in relation to the people inhabiting the simulation. The post-humans created the world we see. They are of superior intelligence. They are omnipotent in the sense that they can interfere in the workings of our world even in ways that violate its physical laws, and they are omniscient in the sense that they can monitor everything that happens. However, all the demigods except those at the fundamental level of reality are subject to sanctions by the more powerful gods living at lower levels. Further rumination on these themes could climax in a naturalistic theogony that would study the structure of this hierarchy, and the constraints imposed on its inhabitants by the possibility that their actions on their own level may affect the treatment they receive from dwellers of deeper levels. For example, if nobody can be sure that they are at the basement level, then everybody would have to consider the possibility that their actions will be rewarded or punished, based perhaps on moral criteria, by their simulators. An afterlife would be a real possibility. Because of this fundamental uncertainty, even the basement civilization may have a reason to behave ethically. The fact that it has such a reason for moral behavior would of course add to everybody else's reason for behaving morally, and so on, in truly virtuous circle. One might get a kind of universal ethical imperative, which it would be in everybody's self-interest to obey, as it were from nowhere. In addition to ancestor simulations, one may also consider the possibility of more selective simulations that include only a small group of humans or a single individual. The rest of humanity would then be zombies or shadow people, humans simulated only at a level sufficient for the fully simulated people not to notice anything suspicious. It is not clear how much cheaper shadow people would be to simulate than real people. It is not even obvious that it is possible for an entity to behave indistinguishably from a real human and yet lack conscious experience. Even if there are such selective simulations, you should not think that you are in one of them unless you think they are much more numerous than complete simulations. There would have to be about 100 billion times as many me simulations, simulations of the life of only a single mind, as there are ancestor simulations in order for most simulated persons to be in me simulations. There is also the possibility of simulators abridging certain parts of the mental lives of simulated beings and giving them false memories of the sort of experiences that they would typically have had during the emitted interval. If so, one can consider the following, far-fetched, solution to the problem of evil, that there is no suffering in the world and all memories of suffering are illusions. Of course, this hypothesis can be seriously entertained only at those times when you are not currently suffering. Supposing we live in a simulation, what are the implications for us humans? The foregoing remarks notwithstanding, the implications are not all that radical. Our best guide to how our post-human creators have chosen to set up our world is the standard empirical study of the universe we see. The revisions to most parts of our belief networks would be rather slight and subtle, in proportion to our lack of confidence in our ability to understand the ways of post-humans. Properly understood, therefore, the truth of 3 should have no tendency to make us go crazy or to prevent us from going about our business and making plans and predictions for tomorrow.